Hello and welcome back to Fanteam Focus. We are live with our first deadline stream of the season. Game week 1 has passed. Game week 2 is coming up. The deadline is now, I think, less than an hour away. So we're going to talk about the £1 million game. We're going to talk about the weekly monster. We're going to catch up with Callum's Ultimate Fan as well. Callum's had an absolute beast on Ultimate Fan, so he's going to tell us all about that. We're joined with Jay as well. Guys, just to say hello first, how are we doing?
Very well, thank you.
Hi, Rhys. Hi, Callum. Nice. Thanks for inviting me.
Not a problem, Jay. We love having you on. It's good to get a bit of a different perspective sometimes. Jay's a numbers guy, guys. If you didn't know, he's into his data models and stuff like that. So it's always interesting chatting with Jay. Thanks for coming on. So first up, then we're going to talk a little bit about Ultimate Fan. Callum, what has been going on, mate? You have absolutely smashed it, haven't you?
Yeah, it was one hell of a week considering that I've currently put £5 into this platform and that's now £500 that's come out of it, which is lovely. So I am well aware that it's probably going to be a bit of a one-off as they've now changed the rules, and I got slightly lucky with the fact that I managed to get a double Bruno, which means he basically just got points for everywhere. And basically, people that didn't have Bruno, it was game over. So I had a fantastic little thing. I think I finished sixth, which gave me £400. And like we said, it's one of those. It's completely free to play. I've got the subscription, so I've now paid him £5, but I've got £500 out. My free beer came earlier on in the week, so it's a little bit of a no-brainer. And if anyone does genuinely have any questions, we wouldn't kind of promote these things if we don't believe that it's it is something that's fun and enjoyable. There is a link in the description that massively helps us out. But yeah, it was a fantastic game week 1 to come away with £400 and sixth. After putting in £5. I was buzzing, to be fair, considering that I didn't really captain Bruno anywhere else or have him in many other places. That was kind of my what's the word? He saved me on Ultimate Fan rather than anywhere else. So yeah, it was a fantastic game week 1. Looking forward to game week 2. But like we said, they've now actually changed that thing that you cannot have the same player in multiple positions, which is good because if I didn't have Bruno, I'd be just as frustrated as everybody else. So I'm going in with a slightly different tack this week. I think I've got Wilfred Zaha and still Bruno, Van Dijk, Shaw, Liverpool. So I've still got a decent little 6 out. And yeah, hopefully if I can replicate that kind of money again, and it'll be a great weekend again.
I did have your team up here. I don't know where it's gone, so apologies for not putting it up. But yeah, the double player, the double Bruno. I mean, the hat trick. That must have absolutely smashed it for you, right?
Yeah, because obviously you've got the captain kind of chip, which doubled his points, and then also he had the golden boot on the other Bruno, which gave him double points for every goal that he scored, and obviously he got a hat trick. So he literally just smashed everything, which is basically why they've had to change the rules. But it now makes sense. It's now fair across the board. Everyone has to have 6 different players and a team. So yeah, like I said, Bruno's still in there this week. Zaha still got Mason Greenwood in there, Luke Shaw, Van Dijk, and Liverpool's my team. So yeah, hopefully we go again. And it's a really nice kind of side little hobby. It doesn't cost, well, if you don't want it to cost anything, doesn't cost anything. Cost me a £5 a month, which I'm happy to take. So something that I really, really enjoy is a little bit of a side. And obviously the money was a massive bonus.
So absolutely free to play, guys. Link in the video description. 300 grand prize pool kind of at the moment. So get involved in that. And like Cam said, free to play, but you can choose to pay extra as well. 18 plus, gamble away. Let's have a look at game week 1 because it was a crazy one, wasn't it? I mean, you had the Bruno hat trick, you had Salah getting points, you had Antonio getting points. These 3 were like the big 3 in terms of ownership, I think, weren't they? And yeah, they absolutely smashed it. Jay, what were the standout results for you in game week 1, do you think, or the standout moments? You talk about the Bruno hat trick, etc.
Yeah, I think as you said, most of the big hitters really, they were worth their weight in gold. So Salah, Bruno, Antonio, to be fair, he's always been a darling of XG enthusiasts because he always accumulates a ton load of XG, and even though he missed the penalty, which I didn't think he was ever going to score, because I mean he just rushed into it and took it, and anyway he got the assist luckily. But Antonio was the one who delivered, and I think Said Benrahma as well. He had a pretty good preseason, and it's quite unusual to have these players carry on from the preseason. We've had so many red herrings where player is banging in goals in preseason and they're benched in the first game week. And as long as Jesse Lingard doesn't move to West Ham, I think he could be a really good asset because he's 6 million. And I think he could make a mockery of his price, especially with the next 3 fixtures that West Ham have. And I think one more player would be Ricardo Pereira. And I've heard from quite a few Leicester fans that there is a small possibility that he could play out of position on the right wing if Perez falls out of favor, which he never seems to. I think Brendan Rodgers continues to play him in mini games, so don't know if that will happen. But if it does, he also looks like a pretty good prospect
I
because
was
he
thinking
looks to be
about.
fit.
I was thinking about. Sorry to interrupt you. I was thinking about
Yeah,
Leicester
no worries.
last night actually, because that Perez position seems to me like you just need to get Perez out of the team, don't you? Get Iheanacho in there somehow instead of Perez. Change the formation or something. But you think Ricardo Pereira maybe at the right wing could be a solution to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not claiming to, know any of these things, but from what I've read, what Leicester fans have had to say, it could be either, as you said, Iheanacho, and I don't think Iheanacho has done anything to deserve being benched again. But I'm of course Brendan knows more than we do, so it's fair if he's thinking something else. But as long as Vardy is playing up top, and now they also have Patson Daka as the backup, and he's an absolute beast when it comes to shots on target and stuff. So if he manages to get, I don't know, if there is a spell where, because Leicester are also in Europa, so if there is a spell where he can get some minutes, then he is also a pretty good prospect. So yeah, I mean, it could be Iheanacho, it could be Pereira. So.
So Callum, Sunday night comes around, all the games are finished, and then Spurs host Chelsea at the Spurs Stadium. It was an eventful game. I mean, there's only one goal, but it seems like there's a lot to unpack there.
It is time for Spurs Corner, isn't it, Rhys? It's time. Are we ready? So, in fact, before we go into this, Will in the chat has put, morning, Callum. How do Spurs do Thursday night? Will, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's the dog and duck league, I think, as Jamie O'Hara called it. So I'm happy to lose that one. I know 100% we will beat them at home and we will get through. So I ain't got any worries about that. And obviously, if anyone is in the chat, please put some comments in, get interactive because we like it. Anyway, Spurs. Massively surprised because I was not expecting us to do anything. I knew it was a good time to play them without De Bruyne, without Foden. They're a different team. Nathan Ake at the back, Mendy at left back. I don't know how he plays in that team. He's literally terrible. But I didn't realise it. Man City have now played 4 times at Spurs Stadium and not scored a goal at all and lost every single one. So they've played 4, lost 4 in the new stadium. So we've certainly seemed to have them in some way, shape or form. And the only way it happens is because we are a team that are very, very good on the counter. And the one thing that I liked this kind of, Mourinho would have got the goal and then it would have been right 10 behind the ball, let's just sit there. Whereas the thing that was really impressive, Nuno, is the fact that we scored the goal. Obviously Son is just unplayable. Those front 4, so Son, Bergwijn, Lucas, and I say front 4, more of a front 3, still stayed really high up the pitch, which still gave us an outlet. Rather than last year, I think we lost the most points and winning positions last year by quite a while because we just defended and everyone was back. And defending is a tiresome thing. So it was really nice to see those 3 actually stay forward and then Skip, Ali and Højbjerg. Skip and Højbjerg were superb, by the way. Those 2 constantly just stayed in front of that back 4. So whenever we broke, Dele Alli had the license to go and get with them. So it was constantly 4 players in every attack. And this is right up to the 90th minute. 4 players going forward every time. And then Skip and Højbjerg just sitting in front of the back 4. So we were set up beautifully. Eric Dyer and Sanchez, I don't rate at all, but they were genuinely superb. Reguilon was brilliant. Tanganga was unbelievable right back. And, I was saying obviously all preseason about Doherty. He will get nowhere near that team with Tanganga in front of him. And Doherty obviously played on Thursday and he was terrible again. He is honestly one of the worst footballers I've seen ever play for Spurs. So, yeah, I was really, really impressed. Bergwijn, I don't particularly rate, but again, he was brilliant. Lucas Moura was unbelievable. Like every time he got the ball, he just beat 3-4 players and looked through them. So it was a massively nice surprise to get that kind of really good start to the season because it was one that I wasn't really expecting. But I guess now the only question is, can we now go and transfer that against a team where we should be favourites, I guess, away at Wolves? We will probably have to attack them a little bit more rather than sitting and counter. And so that will be the thing now. Can we break down a team that will probably sit a little bit deeper and a little bit more defensive? Because certainly on the counter, when you've got Lucas Bergwijn, Ali and Son all breaking forward, we'll beat down any team on the counter. I'm pretty confident in that. So it's just now, can we go and, really take it to a team, dominate possession and do them that way?
There's a couple of things I'd be interested to ask you in terms of players potentially that could make their way into my team. Son, obviously, I'm hearing a lot. I don't think I watched the game, and maybe I watched the first half. But Son, I'm hearing a lot of people who I respect saying he's like almost up there with Bruno and Salah in terms of essential. There's three things I want to ask you. Kane, what do you think about Kane? Is he going to stay? If he stays, does that kind of diminish Son's appeal, or do you think it makes it better? Dele Alli interests me in terms of value. It surprised me to see him play in such a big game, and for me that says that's it now, he'll play every game. So I'd be interested to ask you, how did he play essentially? How did he get on, and what do you think of him as a fantasy asset? Let's just keep it to those few questions.
Yeah. So the first one with Kane, I've said all along these streams, I'm convinced he'll stay, and I'm no different on that. He's been trading now a few times. I just don't think Man City have got the money to cough up, and Kane keeps moaning that they had a gentleman's agreement with Levy or whatever, but Man City have not offered the money. So if Man City desperately want him, they'd offer the money. So, I don't really think that he can be annoyed at Spurs. So I'm convinced he'll stay. And obviously a player of Kane's quality, he'll give it. I don't think he'll start Sunday, but he'll probably start. I think we've got Watford at home the week after that. I'm pretty sure he'll probably start that. And I think it makes Son a much better asset because as we saw last year, Kane topped the goal scorer charts, he's topped the assist charts, and it just gives Son so many more chances by Kane dropping in deep, Son making those runs in behind. So even though people go, oh, he's not on penalties anymore, he's not the striker anymore, Son's better as one of the ones behind the striker, in my opinion. I think he's not wasted as a number 9, but I just think he's better a little bit deeper and from the left. So I think it makes Son a better asset just because the extra chances that he'll get. Kane takes a lot of the attention away, whereas right now Son's kind of the main man and he'll be doubled up. Dele Alli was absolutely brilliant, and his work rate is literally second to none. Mourinho can call him lazy. His work rate's so good. He's beefed up over the summer. And yeah, like you said, I can't see anybody at the minute taking that place. Obviously, Ndombele now apparently wants to leave, which is fine. Get rid because he's just lazy. He's got great talent, but he's lazy. And kind of Harry Winks was terrible again on Thursday. Sissoko looks like he's leaving. There's nobody else in that position that can do that job. And like Nuno said, he's a runner. And the best thing is that it then allows Skip and Højbjerg to sit when we're attacking. It allows Dele Alli to do that box-to-box role. And he's got the license to go and join in as one of those top 4 going forward. And then he's got the energy to sit back in that 3 when we're defending. So I love Ali at the minute as a 6.5. I'm pretty sure he's actually in my top 100 million team so far. That's my highest rank. So I love that pick. I can't see him being displaced unless we sign somebody else in the next 2 weeks, which I don't think we will. I think he'll be a 90-minute regular this season.
Interesting. Does he take any set pieces?
No, Sonny is pretty much on every set piece, every free kick, every corner. Obviously, Kane coming back may change that in terms of direct free kicks, but no, he's not. But again, his strength, Ali, is arriving late into the box, and he didn't have any chances against Man City, but you don't expect him to have a lot of chances. So I'd be interested to see how he plays against Wolves, but he seems to have matured a lot, and I'm happy for a 6.5 million midfielder who I think will play the 90 pretty much week in, week out, has a goal threat, is great in the air. I think he's a really, really good asset.
Jay, you're a Man United fan. Talk to me about the United game in terms of your numbers perspective, because I know you're not... You don't back your eye test too well, you said to me before off air. So tell me about the numbers behind the Man United Leeds game, and is there anything that stood out to you there?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, since we none of us are really scouts and we haven't had the training, I would much rather trust something which is much more objective, like underlying stats. So of course, we absolutely smashed them. But I think, and I think it's been said all along that it's a very favorable matchup for us because the way Leeds play, the one-on-one, man-to-man, the style of play, it's always going to have us with an advantage. And I think we should not be expecting this kind of an expansive performance every game week. Although if you look at Southampton right now, their back line seems to be decimated because, I don't know why Kyle Walker-Peters didn't play, but Salisu is one of the center backs, and if Bednarek is not going to be fit, then it's going to be Stephens with him, and the left back also, Bertrand also left. So it's a completely newish back four, and we should see some goals. But the main takeaway I think from the Leeds performance is that Bruno is, I mean, there is no need to even question that. But I think Mason Greenwood could force his way into the team, because I've been a bit skeptical about his minutes with the likes of Cavani, Martial also being there. But I think his type of play could suit us in a lot of games.
Cavani could be back. I saw this from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer yesterday in the press conference. He said basically he hasn't trained at all, but he's back with the team and he's so fit that he's in with a chance, basically. I think that's not verbatim. Would that make you worried about Greenwood? Or even Martial's looking ice cool with his new skinhead. What do you think? By the way, Greenwood looked insane though on Saturday.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, you're right. So my hesitancy with Greenwood has always been that there is too much competition. So if you look at let's say Jota at the same price, yes, he also has competition, but his competition is essentially they need to have four players in three places. But at United, you can have Paul Pogba on the left wing, you can have Jadon Sancho play any of the wings, you have Daniel James who plays certain kind of teams, you have, I mean, I'm not going to say Mata, but you used to have Mata who used to play on the right wing sometimes. Jesse Lingard, if he doesn't go to West Ham, he's also an option. So I think that there are too many places and too much of a competition. Although, of course, Mason is on the top of his game right now, but the X minutes are still a bit dicey for me. But if someone goes for him for the first 3 weeks, I won't blame them, because for the first 3 weeks, it looks pretty good for him.
Yeah, I think personally, I think we've missed the boat. Unless you get him this week, I think it starts getting less and less likely that he starts games, etc. One thing I've noticed watching Ollie's team selection over the past few years, he loves to play strikers. I remember when we had just 3 strikers at the club, Martial, Rashford and Greenwood, he would play them all in a midweek Carling Cup game up front, like the front 3. And I'd be like, Ollie, why? Just rest one of them, do you know what I mean? But so it could be something. Callum, any other results or games that you watched, anything which stood out to you from the week in general?
I'm trying to think what else I watched. I watched the Newcastle West Ham game, which is a right good game.
Yeah, I saw that. Really good.
Saw the obviously the Brentford one, but we discussed that last week. But the Newcastle West Ham game was so good. I really enjoyed it. I thought Newcastle looked good going forward, to be fair. I thought West Ham obviously looked very, very good. Obviously, we've spoken about Antonio being a great asset. So that game really stood out to me. The Watford Villa really surprised me, actually, and actually the Dennis up the front, I don't know how nailed he is, so he's certainly still a wait and see. But at 5 million up front, he scored, so that could potentially be one to look at as a bit of a cheap option if you're looking to double up your stacks in the monsters or the 1 million. Obviously, Sarr literally ended Matt Targett's career. Like, I don't know if you saw the highlights, but Targett, he got whipped at halftime, and he was just every time Sarr got the ball, he was like on the floor, just ruined him. So yeah, I'm not sure we'll see Targett again anytime soon. But yeah, that was the other one that stood out to me. Villa looked very disjointed, and obviously a lot of people have got all of their assets in because they had a favourable run of fixtures, but Villa at the minute, for me, I'm certainly not rushing to get anybody in. Obviously Watkins is still out injured, so we still don't really know how they're going to set up. So yeah, that's one that I think Villa are potentially a little bit of a trap. So they're still a wait and see. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure if they play today or tomorrow. We'll see if they look any better. But yeah, I was really impressed by Watford and Sarr and Dennis. I think they could be some cheap options.
Dennis, great value. I agree with them. The Aston Villa synopsis you gave there, we don't know how they're going to set up. Could be a trap, disjointed. I agree with all of that. Listen, they could turn around and smash it this week, but I think there are too many question marks for me. Although Danny Ings, I wouldn't stop anyone going for Danny Ings. Okay, so with that in mind, let's have a little look then at some of our fan team teams. Callum, I've got your fan team £1 million team up here. I'm hoping I got the right one. I got so many screenshots on my WhatsApp. It's your best one season long team, 100.2 points, and your rank is 2,981. Firstly, is this the correct image? I don't know if you can see it on screen. Let's just say it is.
Yep. Yeah, it's the right one.
Awesome. And so how did it go?
Yeah, I'm happy enough. A lot of people obviously got off to a cracking start, and we will obviously hopefully catch them up as it comes later. But considering that I didn't have a team with Salah and Bruno with one of them as captain, I was quite happy to still get a really high rank. So obviously the Van Dijk and the Trent double up was pretty much a nailed, and I'm hoping it's going to be another nailed clean sheet this week. Like I said, the Son and Ali, I love the fact that now Ali, I think, will get 90 points. Obviously, those two are brilliant. Souček is, I was worked out yesterday, kind of like my most owned players in my teams, and he, I think, is the second highest behind Salah. So I love the Souček pick. Obviously, you were quite lucky with him scoring a rebound from the penalty, but we know how much of a goal scorer he is, and we know that he plays 90 minutes every week, and you know he's a great threat. So I love Souček. Obviously, Bruno did the business, stuck the armband on him, and it was one of those unlikely weeks that all of the big strikers pretty much hit, didn't they? Ings, Wilson, Antonio, Calvert-Lewin. Kind of Tony was probably the only high-owned one that didn't really do what was expected. So Calvert-Lewin is an interesting one that we haven't really spoke about yet, and I actually think he could be in for a really good season. Looking at the highlights, basically Everton's whole game plan is, can we cross to Calvert-Lewin? And obviously we know how good he is in the air. So I think Calvert-Lewin / obviously Richarlison's a little bit cheaper if you potentially wanted to go that route. But I think Everton's whole game plan is, how do we suit Calvert-Lewin's plan? And that is just a cross and cross and cross. So I think Calvert-Lewin, I think is 8 million. I still think that's a really good price. And obviously, I just like this team a lot. Obviously, I've benched Ayling at 5.7 there. Obviously, he scored an absolute worldie, his first goal in the Premier League, so that was a bit annoying. But I think most people probably stuck him on the bench. I've still got Skippy in there, which I love. Again, I think he's going to play 90 pretty much week in, week out. I don't expect a lot, but a 4.5 million midfielder, I'm happy to stick him on the bench. And if he has to come on and play, you know, he can get me those 4.3 like he's done there. Ben White, I'm going to look to probably transfer out pretty soon in most of my teams, but I really like the look up of it. It's a nice start. It's a nice team. Again, I've kept exactly the same team this week from there. Bruno is captain again, as I think Southampton are pretty pony. So I'm expecting another really nice week, to be honest. So it was a nice start. Some of my teams didn't start as well, so some of them were below the new average. But yeah, certainly as first game weeks go, to get over 100 points, you can't really complain, can you?
Love it. So this is my team then. So I got Bachmann, Maguire, Trent, Dunk, Webster. Is this my correct team? I don't know. It hasn't got the points there, is it? It's definitely my team. I just haven't got the points there for some reason. But I got the points on the side. 92.2 points. 9080 rank. Obviously, I got some points there. Fernandes, Salah captain, Calvert-Lewin, who Callum spoke about. I think is great choice. Tony. So I'm happy with my team. Actually, I'm really happy with it. I picked it really last minute, and because I was ill on deadline day and I was just in bed all day, so I ended up picking most of my teams last minute, apart from FPL, which I just kind of left. Because I did so many drafts, I was like, right, that's fine. I'm happy with it. Checked it, and I was like, okay, I'm leaving that. But Fanteam I built from scratch. But obviously I'd done a lot of videos and a lot of research leading up to the deadline, so I kind of had all the information in my head, hopefully. But now looking at it, there's picks which I don't like anymore. Like Webster, why Maguire? Why did I pick Maguire? So it's a decent start though, so I'm happy with that, and it's nice in a way because it leaves me with something to do, you know. I can change some players out. This week though, I'm very much like you, keeping it the same. I don't think I've made any changes. Possibly I've changed my bench order. I think I've put Kufal on the bench here, whereas before I think he played for me. So yeah, I'm happy to roll with it. I've got Hurst there on the bench. That was literally taking a leaf out of you guys' book. You taught me that is a good looking strategy, and I definitely took that on board. It's not something you can do, I think, in FPL because of the prices of the players, etc. So let's have a little look at late registration then, because guys, if you didn't know, and by the way, don't forget to hit like on the video. If you are watching live, liking the videos really helps us out. Subscribe if you're new. Every week we're going to be doing a deadline stream / Saturday morning stream, so subscribe if you don't want to miss them, but definitely hit like as well. It really helps us out. So late registration then. I've got both of you guys to send us in a team for late registration. Well, I didn't get you to send them in, but you've sent them in, and I've got them both here side by side. If you didn't know about late registration, the Fanteam game is still open for late registration. You start off with, I think, 75 points, is it, Cal? It's like 95% of the average.
79 points, which is 95% of the average.
And you get all the information in your brain, which you didn't have pre-game week 1. So you have an advantage in some ways because you've got loads more information than all the people who picked their teams in game week 1. A slight disadvantage that you got a little bit less than the average, but it's a kind of balancing act, and it's up to you then to decide, like, is it worth kind of going in with that knowledge? Does that add value to my team? So I've done a late registration video that's up on the channel. I've got Jay's and Callum's here side by side. Jay, I'm going to go to you first because we haven't heard from you in a while. Can you talk me through your late registration team and maybe give me an inkling as to why certain players have come into your late registration team?
Yeah, sure. So the thing is that with the late registration, as you know, Callum is also obviously very happy with the Spurs performance. I think Son is an automatic choice for game week 2 onwards. For game week 1, I was a bit skeptical because we didn't have enough information about how they were going to set up and what's happening with Kane and stuff like that. But now I think it's pretty clear that, you know, Son is going to be, you know, as good as he was, or, you know, slightly, you know, as Callum suggested, he might not be as influential, but still he's going to get a lot of points. So the changes are, for example, I've gone with Sanchez in goal, Alexander Arnold, Dunk and Maguire in defense, Bruno, Salah, Son and Mbuemo in my midfield, and Tony, Antonio and Bamford as my 3 strikers. So the thing here is, I think Crystal Palace is, I mean, I've had a lot of I've seen a lot of stuff from Palace fans online that they don't really like their team being underrated that much, but I think most of us can agree that it is they are on their way to have a pretty underwhelming season. So
I think so, yeah.
yeah, so I think Tony and Mbuemo is a good place to target them for this week, and then you can maybe bench Mbuemo and you can play the defenders on the bench. So I have Regulon and Duffy on the bench, and Duffy. So I think Fanteam have been really clever with their pricing, because all these, you know, 4 million gems that we had in FPL, like Hoover and Livramento, they are all 4.5 in Fanteam. So there is no sneaky way that you can, you know, have a 4.5 million defender based on the knowledge you've gained in game week 1, but you still have Duffy and Amarty, and there is a chance that Amarty could start, but I wouldn't have him in my team now because, you know, his days are numbered, and so are Shimikas's days. So there's no point in really having them now. So that's the team, and I think the key takeaway for me is game week 4, where all these teams going out, all these players going out for international fixtures, there could be a lot of carnage, because if the policies don't change, then they'll have to isolate when they get back, and a lot of players could miss out as a result of that. So the good thing is Fanteam will still have another entry for you. So if you see that there is enough, you know, if there is enough uncertainty or enough players are going to miss out, like Salah could potentially miss out on game week 4, and so could Antonio because he's been called up for Jamaica. So if you have that information, you can again enter a new team for that, and you can, that would be really advantageous, because you'll have, first of all, 11 playing players without taking a hit, and that could be really big for you. So I think the key point here is also about Aston Villa. I think we've realized that they are too much incoherent. There is too much incoherence in the team right now. So I think it's better if we can avoid them. And just to back up Callum's view on that, he's going to face Alan Saint-Maximin this weekend. So if Sarr didn't give him enough of a tough time, it's going to be even worse for him now. So
interesting that we're all kind of on the same page with just avoiding Aston Villa, isn't it? Because we haven't obviously spoke about this previously, but it all seems like we're all kind of on the same boat.
Yeah, although I am a bit peeved that Ings got a 97th minute penalty and he didn't even have a single shot. I mean, not even on target. He didn't even have a shot.
Danny Ings.
So, and Yeah, and El Ghazi had left the field, which is why he got the penalty in the first place. So, it's what it is. But I'm hoping that based on their underlying stats, they hopefully Ings won't keep uh, punishing us non-owners in such brutal fashion.
Going over to Callum's team then on the right, and there's a poll in the chat, guys. You can vote on whose team you think is the best. It's just a bit of fun. We got some questions as well, which we'll get to when we get to the monster section of the stream. Cal.
Yeah, I've decided that any late reg team I want to go top heavy. I don't think that I'm not that bothered anymore in going quite high in the defense. And for example, the Trent and Van Dijk, I've tried to move to Van Dijk because I think Trent doesn't have a big upside to Van Dijk on kind of Fanteam because in FPL he has all the bonus points, etc. So I'm really happy to go light in the back with kind of Raya, Pinnock, like we said, Brentford. I don't particularly fancy him to do that well, but I think they'll pick up clean sheets. Raya will pick up a lot of saves, so I'm happy to go with that. Ailing again, obviously 4.5. I think he's probably one of the best 4.5 mids out there. Tanganga, like I said, I think he's pretty much nailed now, and a 4.5 million starting defender at Spurs. Again, happy to take that. Richie and Tierney on the bench. Tierney, I think, created the most chances in the whole Premier League over the weekend. Certainly, if not one of the most. I think got 6 really key chances created. So Tierney, I don't like Arsenal at all, but I'm happy to upgrade Ben White to Tierney because I think he's, a lot of anything good that Arsenal do will come through Tierney. So yeah, very light on the defence. Benching Tierney this week. Benching Richie, who again I thought left wing back. He got an assist last week. It was obviously only because they conceded 4 goals that he didn't particularly score very well. So again, I'm happy to take Richie on there. And, it's quite a nice, cheap back line, but ones that I also think has got potential. I think you kind of just look at that front 7. I just think, you know what, I've pretty much nailed that. I think with Son, Salah, Bruno is an absolute essential now. Like I said, with Souček, I just love him. And Sarr, I've seen enough of Sarr to realize he's going to play 90 most weeks. He's going to score. He's going to assist. He's going to be a bit of a handful. Like we said about Calvert-Lewin, I think he's going to have a great season. The whole Everton game plan is geared around him. And then finally, Lukaku as a differential, I guess, because anyone starting the season probably won't have him. And the thought of Lukaku up against Ben White this weekend just fills me with pleasure. And I think Lukaku he'll score goals for absolute fun. I think he's matured. He'll get loads of chances. And I think, with that low ownership, I think he's got to be pretty much a nailed for me. And that leaves me, I think, about $1 million spare to hopefully upgrade to Kane somewhere along the line. But yeah, I love that team. The more I look at it, I think I've done a good job there.
I've got a lot of love for Matt Ritchie. I don't know if they're going to get a lot of clean sheets, but I'm pretty sure he took every single set piece for Newcastle in that game, which is really sexy, right? Mm. I like that. Okay, Monster then. Let's have a look at the weekly Monster. We've had a lot of questions in the chat, so we'll get to those when we're previewing the Monster. I've got Jay's graphics up here, so the attack rating and the defense ratings based on expected goals. Jay can fill us in a little bit more about those, but it's basically goals scored and goals conceded. Sorry, Jay. And then I got fixtures underneath. Go on, sir.
Yeah, so I think it's essential that we kind of understand the strengths of these teams both in attack and defense. And I've been publishing these results every game week. So the plan is that the more information we gain, the more the data model can correct itself in case there are some outliers. So for example, right now Brentford is mid-table in defense, and the initial signs are promising. And if they all of a sudden they start conceding goals, the model will obviously start to rate them lower and lower down the charts and stuff like that. So every week this will be tracked, and I've been posting this on Twitter. So if you want to have a look at that, so this is just to have a look and kind of decide on which teams you want to back in defense. So as Callum said, if you want to go with a team which has no defenders above, let's say 5 million or 5.5 million, then one strategy that you can go with is just look at the assets from these teams who have good defense, and then pick players from those. And of course it is kind of dependent on fixtures as well, so I would not just recommend blindly going on them, except for I think Man City and Chelsea. I think Chelsea's defense system and Man City in general, the possession, the way they defend it's not really defending, it's just keeping the ball. So those two teams I think are a bit of an exception. You can maybe have someone like Rudiger even if the fixtures are kind of tough, which will save your transfer down the line. But essentially, the point is to have a rating system which will keep you kind of, it will be a true reflection of how the teams are performing as we go further into the season. So yeah,
Is
that's
there, just to get into the nuts and bolts of these graphs a little bit, is there like a weighting system? So I'm assuming the data that goes into this is basically just expected goals data from last season and then this season added as well. Is there like a weighting added to the
yeah.
data, the
So
most recent data that goes in?
yeah, so you're right in that regard. So it's basically a lot of historical data weighted, based on how recent the seasons were. And also there is a machine learning model behind that, which this kind of a prediction, right? So if Man City were to play an average side in the Premier League, they would be expected to concede 0.76. So that's XG. So you can look at it in a way that, let's say you have Man City facing off against Liverpool. So that kind of matchup, you will obviously expect Chelsea to concede more XG and Liverpool to maybe register a bit of less XG, because it kind of cancels out, because Liverpool has one of the best attacks and Chelsea has one of the best defenses. So you can use those ratings to kind of have a look at the matchups as well. So if you find out that there is a big difference in any of these ratings, then that is where you can target these teams. And this can be used especially for your weekly monsters, because 1 week punts in the season long game I would avoid. So for example, I've seen a lot of teams with Marcus Alonso, which is why I think they're in the top 2000, 3000.
I had him in my
But
monster last week and he absolutely banged.
absolutely. So yeah, monster is fine, right? Because it's just 1 week. But if you have him in the season long game, it's a transfer waiting to happen
Of
down
course,
the
yeah,
line.
yeah.
Because so I wouldn't recommend it as much for the season long game, but for weekly monsters, sure, you can have a look at these matchups.
Callum, I got a question from FPL Graphics, Joe, in the chat. Thoughts on Leeds this week? He says, in his opinion, Bamford is probably one of, if not the best striker.
Leeds, I think, are so much dependent on if Calvin Phillips plays. Throw me Leeds everywhere, defensively, going forward, Rafinha, wingers, all those kind of things. But I think we just saw a sort of stupid stat, something like they've lost 80% of the games where he doesn't play since they've been back in the Prem, something along those lines. And I know that Bielsa said this week he's getting better, but he's still not, we're still not sure if he's going to start this week. So I think if Calvin Phillips starts, I'm all over Leeds. I don't particularly rate Everton defensively. I still think that, they've not really signed anyone back there and they're still a little bit shaky. So I fancy Leeds to be able to score a lot of goals. But without Phillips, their whole kind of just team structure, the whole kind of way they play. I think was it Robin Koch who played in defensive mid against United. It was just terrible. So they don't have that Phillips replacement. I think he was so key to everything they do in his pressing, his defensive work, and his distribution, and the way that he can drive forward. I think if Phillips plays, I absolutely agree. I think Bamford is. I haven't seen his price. I'll have a look in a second, but he is one that could definitely really go off this week. Yeah.
I was listening to TalkSport yesterday and they were making, I think it was Darren Bent making the exact same point about how bad the that defensive midfield position was against United and how that allowed Bruno to get forward so much. Yeah, I think he's an absolute key player for Leeds.
10.4 million is the only caveat to that. I guess that this is kind of the week where there's a lot of teams you want to get in, and a 10.4 for Bamford and 10 million dead for Rafinha are quite high prices. So I think you'd have to target them with only one other team. You'd have to fade probably, United or Chelsea or something along those lines. But yeah, if Phillips plays Bamford and Rafinha, I'd be all over it. They're personally not going to be in mine, but they'd be all over it definitely.
Sadiq in the chat asks, is Ultimate Fan available in every country? Just click the link in the video description. It won't be available in every country, I'm sure, but it's 18 plus. Please gamble away. Luke Shaw, captain. Jay, your thoughts?
Ooh, that's a bit interesting. I would never recommend captaining a defender unless you are purposely trying to go against expected value, because clean sheet is something that the defenders have, and then you can have a low XG shot go in, right? So I think clean sheets are less predictable in a way, and I would never play captain a defender in
never.
any fantasy game. No,
I
that's
would.
just yeah. That's the thing. So if you want to purposely go against, so for example, like game week 38 last season, if you captained Mane instead of Salah, Mane scored twice, Salah had an assist, right? So if you want to consciously make a decision and then go against expected value, it's perfectly fine. But if you want to look at expected value, then
what about someone like Cancelo this week, for example? I'm not sure if they're in the monster, but Cancelo this week against Norwich, hugely creative, likely to get a clean sheet according to your numbers. Why not captain him?
Okay. So you're talking about weekly monsters.
Just a general question. That one is sorry.
Yeah, for a weekly game, I would be a little bit more inclined because it's just for the week. But if you let's say you have Salah against Burnley and you ignore that and you choose to captain someone like Luke Shaw or Cancelo, who by the way is predicted not to start. If you have a look at 11ify.com, which is a site which if VRogue on FPL. On FPL Twitter, he's someone who used to do Man City lineup predictions.
I know what about that. If Kevin De Bruyne doesn't play, I think Cancelo plays. But as a Cancelo owner in FPL, now I'm talking about, that's you buy into that when you buy him. You don't expect him to start every game. You just kind of when he does start, you want him to do well, which unfortunately he didn't do on the weekend. Okay then, so let's have a little look at your monster teams, guys. Again, I've put them up side by side. Callum will go to yours first because we just heard from Jay. Tell us a little bit about this team and why you've picked these players.
Yeah, so again, as with every Saturday, I'm going to be at a bit of a disadvantage because I don't get to see the lineups. As again, I have my own football. That means I'm out of the house between pretty much all day. So
it's a nightmare.
It's not ideal timing. So I have to go a little bit on,
safety.
I have to use the safety net, which obviously for anyone that doesn't know what that is, just means that. So for example, if De Bruyne is the highest owned Man City, if he doesn't play, I just get the second highest price Man City, etc., etc. So I just have to play a little bit safer. Again, so I've gone with, players that are quite more expensive again at the top end of the pitch because, they've got a higher ceiling. I'd rather spend more on my midfielders and my strikers and my defense. As we say every week with the monster, you're always going to have to pick, players that potentially you don't want to pick, but you have to just to purely put in the budget enablers. And, like I said last week, I look at it and I go, can this team win? Can this team come last? And I look at my team this week and I think, it's definitely got the potential to do that. Kind of came third in the free roll last week. So I had a massive kind of result there as well with 400 quid. So it was a nice one last week again, when I looked at it and I think, can I win? Can I come last? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So the Mahrez and De Bruyne is no surprise. I'm taking the risk on De Bruyne. If he doesn't play, I think that will probably drop down to Sterling, which isn't the most, isn't the nicest thing in the world, but I'll take it. Son and Moura, I'm happy for us on the break again. I think they can both absolutely bang. Like I said, Moura last week were superb. Fernandes speaks for himself. Southampton are pretty pony, so I fancy him to get a couple. Lukaku, like I've said, Lukaku up against Ben White, just, that's pretty much everything I could ask for. Callum Wilson, I thought was brilliant last week against a Villa that, like we said throughout the stream, and not really settled. I think he could score, so I quite like that. The one thing I don't like about that is that I've got kind of a single Man United, a single Chelsea, a single Newcastle, so that's not ideal at all. I'd rather be stacking it, but I like that I've got the key asset from Man United, I've got the key asset from Chelsea and the key asset from Newcastle, so I don't mind it. And then obviously we look at the back four, you have to take budget enablers in the monsters, and I'm going with 2 double ups in the hope for 2 clean sheets. Brighton, we know are a very hit or miss team. We don't really know what they'll go like. Happy to take on the Watford back line. Hopefully they get a clean sheet. And then Pinnock and Raya, like we said, I don't particularly fancy Palace that much this year. However, is that just bias because they were really good against Arsenal and Arsenal were terrible? Possibly. And it could, I could face and they could get battered this week. I don't know. But we always have to take risks in the monsters. My risks are, the Brentford double up, the Watford double up. So they will, either score me very well or score me not a lot. But I certainly think my front 7, regardless of how well that back 4 perform, could get me into the money regardless. Then obviously if we get a Watford and a Brentford clean sheet, I could certainly be right up there. So I like the look of the team. I just don't like the fact that I'm missing the De Bruyne news, because if Grealish plays, if Gundogan plays, I would rather switch to them than Sterling, but it is what it is.
Talking about cash as well, me and Callum both hit the cash last week in our weekly monster video. So don't forget to like the video, guys, but crucially, hit subscribe if you want to win cash on Fanteam, right? Because me and Callum are now self-proclaimed experts. I doubled my money from, I think it was £1.50 to £3 something. And Callum, you hit big, right? What did you get?
Yeah, so the monster, I only entered one monster team, so that was obviously £10 entry. I got £25 back, and then the free roll that I got that was for entering a team in the season long, it came third out of like 2,000 for £400. So yeah, that was a lovely little pickup. However, it made me sad because if I'd entered that free roll team as the monster, I also would have come third in that, which was like 1,700. So that's a bit frustrating, but I can't really complain. Just quickly, that question in the chat. So Fazid has put Ben Rama for Rafinha or save a transfer. I don't know if Ben Rama's a big trap. I know he's done well the game week 1. Can he continue that? Can he keep the minutes? Can he keep, supplying Antonio? I don't think I'd be doing that transfer yet, because I'm assuming, Fazid, that you didn't put Rafinha into your team for the United game. I'm assuming you put him into the team for his fixtures kind of between now and game week 6, game week 7. So I would not change the plan. I think there it's quite easy to get drawn into the trap, but think, why did I put Rafinha into the team? Well, I'm assuming you didn't put him in for Man United away. So I would probably save a transfer, roll it over for next week.
Jay, we heard you talk about Ben Rama earlier, so I won't ask you again about that, but do you want to tell us about your monster team and why it's going to win you big money?
Okay, so just addressing that issue, I think Callum has hit it on the nail that you can't possibly expect Rafinha to score big against United. So to put it in perspective, Rafinha is Bruno Fernandes without penalties. His underlying stats are that good. So, and he speaks Portuguese as well. So, if you want to do that transfer, that is essentially what we call as knee jerking. There is absolutely no need to do that, and there has been no evidence that Everton have improved in defense. People always like to pigeonhole certain managers, and yes, Rafa Benitez is a good defensive manager, but we don't know when that will transpire on the pitch. So for now, I will definitely keep Rafinha in the team. Yeah. So moving on to the weekly monster, I've gone the other way to Callum. So Callum has double Watford. I have triple Brighton defense. Again, it's the same thing. Yeah. And it's what I did was I realized that I had a data model with me. I just needed to input these new prices and then run the same optimization algorithm on it. So I got this team based on that. And the best thing is there is no pep roulette. So you get the lineups for City and Man City, Norwich before the game start, the deadline.
I've got FPL graphics in the chat, Jay, just to stop you there, because we are 4 minutes until the deadline. He says early team sheets floating about for Liverpool. Hope it's not true. Joe, can you, I don't know how fast you are at typing, but could you maybe type them out for us to save us going on Twitter while we're live on stream?
Yeah, I'm just having a look on Twitter now, but I can't find it.
They are. Callum's on the case there. Jay, triple Brighton, are you crazy?
They keep finding ways to concede, and I keep finding ways to back them again and again because they're the XG conceded doesn't lie. Even though, to be honest, they did concede more XG than they registered against Burnley. But despite that, I think, I will keep backing them until they come good some game week. And if you want to back a triple up, I think it's the weekly monster, because if you do that in your FPL or Fanteam season long team, one goal and, you'll just switch off for the weekend, right? Not just the weekend, but the upcoming week as well. So, I think I can take that risk here, and I tend to agree with Callum that Zaha, Crystal Palace might not be, we might not be backing them, but I think Zaha can do something based on. It's essentially the price point. So I wouldn't say that I love all 11 picks. So Jimenez and Zaha are two two players that I would definitely swap for others if I could stretch to someone else who is priced more. But other than that, I think they are fairly standard picks with Mahrez, Fernandes, Mbuemo, Antonio, and Calvert-Lewin. So I think Mahrez is the only one. If he is starting, then I'm switching the captaincy to him for sure.
So aren't you worried? Sorry to keep going on about the triple Brighton, but aren't you worried about like the impact points or anything like that? Or I'd be worried about that.
So if this was last season, then definitely so, because you had a -1 if you lost the game. But now because it's -0.3, it's slightly less risky. Of course, it's risky, but I think it's less risky than captaining a defender. So I'm going to go with that. It's essentially the price point. It's nothing else. As Callum said, it's impossible to like all 11 of your picks. And if I could, maybe change, if I had a higher budget, then of course, that goes without saying. But I think they're more than worth their money for this week, Brighton defense, especially Dunk, because I'm surprised Rhys, he's quite a favorite of yours, right? So
yes. Thanks for remembering.
Yeah. So I
like it. Listen, I'm not criticizing the picks, just more criticizing the strategy. And you know more about Fanteam than I do. I'm just asking you the question. I like obviously Brighton defense. I love Brighton defense. I love Dunk for his attacking threat, but it just surprises me to see someone so focused on Fanteam go for the triple up, and maybe it's a strategy that I could potentially adopt in the future, because I've always avoided it so far. I've only done one or two. I've only done two monsters so far, so it's just interests me. Callum, what do you think?
Yeah, Jay, could you not drop down one of those Brighton defenders to a West Ham defender? Because obviously with the triple Brighton, you're looking at a -2 there if they get a clean sheet, because obviously you've got the stacking penalty. Could you? I've just looked at the prices, and Cresswell's 7.9, and Brighton defenders are all like 8 point something, and that could give you 1 million higher up the pitch. I like the rest of it. It's just if I was going to go with that, I'd probably go, because of that stacking penalty, I'm likely to drop one of the Brightons, add in a West Ham defender, because obviously to then pair him with the Fabianski, and it gives you then 1 mil and a bit to potentially look at a stacking double up somewhere in the front side of the pitch, so you've not got 7 teams. But listen, it's a game of opinions.
No, that's the thing. So it's not an opinion. So what I've decided is, for the weekly monsters, I'll go with what the data model says. And if for a couple of weeks I realize that it's not performing up to the mark, then I'll maybe start adopting these off the cuff strategies where, as you said, stacking penalty is an important thing in pursuits as well as weekly monsters. So if that is going to be the case, then sure, I'm open to change. And the good thing about basing a team on data model is there is nothing to be, I don't have to take it personally, right? Because it's not technically my opinion, it's what the data says.
I bet it doesn't stop you getting upset though when it goes wrong. I bet
I will be upset as soon as the Brighton concede to Sar, and I have him on my bench in FPL as well. So that's going to be a real heartbreaker if that happens, when that happens.
Okay, so Callum wins the vote for his late reg team, 69% to 30. Sorry, Jay, there is a poll up right now on whose weekly monster team is the best as well. So make sure you get your votes in. Don't forget to hit like on the video, hit subscribe if you're new. Callum, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think I might bottle De Bruyne. Every time I look, he's out, isn't he? And with that, I'm dropping to Sterling, and I don't want Sterling. I'd rather Grealish. Do I bottle it, take out De Bruyne, put Grealish in, captain Mahrez?
If you want my opinion, I would take De Bruyne out because you need to go safe.
I agree.
And De Bruyne is the opposite of safe. He might play, he might not play, just coming back from his injury. He got 5 minutes against Spurs, probably because they were desperate. Pep said yesterday in the press conference that...
Rhys, if De Bruyne plays,
of course,
look like an absolute dim light for not going for him.
I don't think so, because you can't see the team sheets. So
the correct. No one else is going to know that, Rhys.
What do you mean? Like live?
Yeah, right. I tell you what, it's done. De Bruyne's out. Grealish is in because I don't want Sterling as my safety net. Mahrez moves to skipper. Vice captain goes to Son. And there is probably the winning team. I've now got 700 grand to spend. Hold on. Can I upgrade Wilson? I've now got 8 points something. I could upgrade Wilson to someone. No.
Maybe one of your defenders there. You got a bit of a shaky defense.
So wait, I've got 6 points. I could get rid of one of the Watfords, so that would give me 6.5. I could throw in. No.
Get one of Jay's Brightons in there. I know you like Solly March. You're a bit expensive, probably.
No, the rest I'm sticking. It's all Everton defenders I can afford, or Leicester defenders, but I fancy West Ham to score. That's it, done. So my only change: Mahrez goes to skipper as De Bruyne's out. Grealish comes in for De Bruyne. Update team, confirm. Happy days.
So the deadline for the £1 million game is done. The monster, though, still rolls on. You should get some team sheets before the deadline for that. So if you're not in the same shoes as Callum, do keep an eye on those. Jay, thanks for coming on today. Always interesting to talk to you, genuinely. Where can the people find you, and where can they find your data models and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I keep tweeting regularly on @Schadenfreudist. It's one instead of an I. And I think I've gone more into Fanteam stuff than FPL now, because for FPL you have so many resources that it's kind of a saturated market. But with Fanteam, I think a lot of people still, kind of unsure on where the value lies, and I think you can maybe find something of interest. So thanks for having me on, guys.
No, you're more than welcome. Like I say, we really enjoy it. Callum, what have we got going on this week?
Yeah, so before we finish, I need to just, we finally got the cup details. We're currently into our last 64 of our cup on Discord, and we've finally got the prizes for that. It's taken us a while just because we had to confirm a few different things, but the top 8, so all quarter finalists, will receive a monster ticket for the following week. So if those that can get to the last 8 will get that, and then the winner will get £50 Fanteam credits put into their account also. So yeah, the aim for anyone in the cup is to hit the quarterfinals, gets you a free monster ticket, and then the winner gets £50 Fanteam credit put into their account also. So considering that it's a completely free tournament, there's some decent prizes on offer there. And then obviously, as always, we have got all of our podcasts, streams, videos, articles, etc., obviously going on throughout the season. And then finally, our leaderboard, which has changed slightly. It's been reduced. We found that people didn't want to do it over a whole season because they thought it was too long. I understand. So I think it's been reduced. I don't want to get these details wrong. It's something like 8 to 10 game weeks, and obviously still with the same prize pool. So all you have to do is refer one friend to get in with a chance. It's hard. There's less than 10. I'll be completely honest. I've just broken my phone. Which therefore means you've got the absolute least a 1 in 10 chance of winning a grand in about 10 weeks time just by referring one friend. So the odds are certainly in your favor. But yeah, next week I'm going to be off, Rhys, so you're going to have to miss me for a week, I'm afraid. I know it's sad, but we will get some replacements in. And next week we've also joined, I say also, not me, Rhys will be joined by the Josh, again, last year's champion, to have a bit of a talk about how it's going so far and monsters, etc. So again, next week, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, as it will be one not to miss.
Guys, thank you very much for watching. Again, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe. We've got Fanteam stuff going out across YouTube, the internet, fanteamfocus.com. All the links are in the video description. Trying to just give you guys all the Fanteam content that you will need. Like Jay said, FPL is a bit of a saturated market, so we're trying to kind of go a little bit on the other side of it and give people Fanteam content. So listen, you're here, that's what you want. Just hit subscribe, hit like, head on over to the website, and thanks for watching. We'll see you later.